Hey, what's up, y'all? I thought we'd ride down into the new landfill cell today and check on the asbestos job. So as I've showed you, I don't think we've ever came actually down here, but I know I've showed you from up top of the landfill this new cell that we've excavated out. Rolando's on the Volvo 290 here, and this job, what we've got going on, there was an old textile mill that was torn down, burnt down, something happened to it. Well, long years ago, they used asbestos, as a fire retardant building material. And so now the government's coming in and cleaning up the job site. So we said this will be a great time to go ahead and come in down to the new cell, because this is friable asbestos, meaning it can get airborne and it is obviously cancer causing. Now we've had a good bit of rain, so I'm not too worried about walking around down here. It's not something you want to get in and play in, obviously, especially when it's dry. You don't want to breathe in those asbestos fibers. What they have to do when they're digging up the material, they'll have to line the 30-yard container. They're using our trucks. They'll line it, dump the material in, and then put another liner on top of that so it doesn't blow out coming down the road. And the way Rolando's got it set up down here, the truck's coming down the new ramp that we built, and they'll turn up into that corner there, back here, dump. Then he'll take the compactor, compact it in, and then state law says that it has to be buried pretty much immediately upon receipt. So that's what he's doing now. We got another job going on with this kind of dark topsoil cover kind of material, and so he'll use that to cover over the asbestos. Let's see if we can walk down here a little bit, take a better look. I also want to see what kind of sand we've got in the bottom of the cell, because like I told you guys in the previous videos, we had to come in or we still have to come in and cut about 6 foot out of the bottom of this cell. So here's a little better look at the material. A lot of brick, and it mainly looks like just brick, a little bit of wood, and then of course the plastic liners that they're lining the containers with. But perfect opportunity to come down and utilize this new cell. Looks like they've been bringing some of the more bulky material down here too, like those big old rolls. But let's see if we can find us a way to get down. I want to go take a look at the very bottom of this floor. One of the coolest things about my job is, I'm a big geology buff, and I love looking at the different layers down here when we excavate these cells out. And it's just always cool to see, how the earth was put here many, many years ago. We'll go try to find it, but there's a layer of rock over here somewhere that I'm interested in, and we'll see if we can find it, dig around in it a little bit. It's been a while since we excavated this cell. As you can see, a little bit of vegetation coming back, but we've hit a layer of chalk. I want to walk over and look at this cut or fill. I'm pretty sure it's a cut. This marker that we had surveyed, and see how much we still got to take out. I see the letter C on there, which means cut. So we got to cut 5 feet, looks like, from right here. I think they've already cut to depth over here where Rolando's putting the asbestos material, because they've been down here digging for a little while, and it looks about like a 5 foot cut. And here's another one that was either old or we just accidentally hit it, but cut 6 foot, elevation 366 feet above sea level. So when you design and permit a landfill, obviously they give you parameters that you have to stay in. We recently got an expansion of airspace, which gave us like another 50 years of life. And hopefully if we can recycle even more materials here in the near future, we can extend the life of the landfill and keep the business open longer. I'm gonna try without falling to get down here in the very bottom and show you guys. This is the bottom, absolute bottom. We can't dig any deeper than this via our permit. And what they do a lot of times is base that off of your groundwater. Wherever your groundwater is, you have to stay a certain distance with the landfill from the groundwater. And so even though groundwater here is probably another 75 feet below us. The other concern then comes into, just the amount of space that you're going to take up. So we've got a vertical expansion that's going to go up. So groundwater really doesn't come into effect in the depth of our cells in this particular case, but in a lot of them, that's the limiting factor, is wherever that groundwater is at, because you certainly don't want any contamination. If you take, waste that you're not supposed to, rainwater grabs that, goes down into drinking water. That could be disastrous. So what the state has done, since we're just a construction and demolition landfill, we don't take any household, any hazardous waste. It's mainly just building materials. We don't have to have a liner, and a couple of you guys have asked that, but we don't have to have a liner because we don't take any hazardous type waste. But we still have to have monitoring wells. So popped all around the site are these wells that they biannually come in, take water samples, just to ensure that we're not contaminating groundwater. But we run a really responsible site here. Every load is inspected just to make sure nobody tries to dump stuff that they're not. If they do bring in material that we can't accept, either they're just turned around, or if it does get dumped, we have to load it back on their truck and they have to take it to a properly lined landfill. Let's see what we're dealing with on the very bottom here. Some beautiful white sand. This kind of looks like our sand over at our Beach Island mine site. That's beautiful. Got a lot of chalk content to it though. You see when I rub it on my fingers, how that white's left behind. So that's kaolin, or a chalk, real clayey type material. And up here on the bank, this is some really cool looking stuff. Kind of looks like a Bengal tiger. Nice sand. I'm sure they took this to the wash plant. And so that's what we'll do with the sand that's usable. As we excavate room and make room for more waste, the sand will go to the sand washing plant that I've showed you guys, and they'll process it and get it ready for the concrete industry. So just trying to make everything tie in and work together. Before, we had just mountains of sand that we would pile up, and we didn't have anything, couldn't get rid of it fast enough. It was in our way. So that's how we got into the sand washing business. It was just these mountains of sand were in our way, had to find something to do with them. And this layer here, this is all fresh sediment that has washed down from all angles of the landfill. The water, rainwater pours in. As you can see, those big old washouts right there bring all that sediment down. So that's what that little layer is up there. All of this is virgin dirt, and we're about 40 something feet deep right now, I guess. And these big old giant rolls, anytime you get this real bulky type material, you always want to try to get it like fiberglass type rolls. Anything bulky, you want to try to put at the very bottom of your landfill. That way the weight and the literal hundreds and thousands of tons that will be put on top of it will help compress it. Because as I've said, compaction is the name of the game in the landfill. When you only have airspace to sell, you try to cram as much waste as you can into that 1 cubic yard of airspace. But I really hope that our recycling ventures are able to grow and continue. But like I preach all the time, there's just so much trash coming in, you can't go through it all. We are so wasteful, just as a community. Unfortunately, it's cheaper to throw it away than it is to recycle, and if you give people an option, they're going with the cheaper one. And this is a pretty funky looking material over here. Still got sand in it, real fine, but heavy on the kaolin. You can see how smooth it is. It's almost like pottery clay. Now let's walk way over here in this corner. Maybe I can climb up that corner right there and try to find that rock layer I've been wanting to take a look at. I'm not sure if you guys can see it via the GoPro or not, but let's see where my finger is. Right there is the layer of rock. So let's see if we can climb up here without killing ourselves, dig some out and just see what it looks like. I gotta get in better shape, you guys, because this stuff's like trying to climb a mountain of sugar. See, I can see it right there. It kind of disappears. Obviously disappears behind this because this is caved in. Then I can pick it up here on the other side. I think this will be pretty easily accessible. I'm out of breath, you guys. Good gracious. That's some hard climbing right there. Looks like we got another truck of asbestos in. I just heard Rolando crank up the old 826C. Let me get my breath. We'll take a look at this rock. Isn't this cool, y'all? Look at all this beautiful river rock. Kind of stained up right now, but if it were washed up, it'd probably be a whitish tan color. Definitely some quartz. That one just broke right open. But beautiful, beautiful rock. I love looking at this type of stuff because you just have to imagine. So that rock band goes all the way around this entire hole. So, you know, I guess, who knows how wide the thing was, but it had to be an ancient creek bed at some point. It'd be interesting to know like how many years ago this river was exposed, you know, where you could actually see water flowing. It's probably, I guess we're probably 20 so feet deep, something like that is where that old riverbed is, but it's really interesting stuff. But let's hoof it back over here, see if we can see how Rolando handles this asbestos when it comes in, and going down this hill much easier than coming up. Much easier. We're not going to make it all the way over there before he destroys that liner, but you can see there, the guy closing the gate on his dump truck. They have to again line the bottom and the top, and so Rolando will just take the compactor now, push it over the side, and then as the cover material comes in, we'll just get it quickly covered. Again, there's not much risk to it right now, so we had a lot of rain, but it does help reduce the risk of it getting airborne, and you definitely don't want to be breathing this stuff. And I guess I should say too, you know, we're talking about groundwater and hazardous materials. Even though this asbestos is considered hazardous, it's called friable asbestos because it's really only dangerous when it's airborne. Now, it'll be down on the bottom of the cell, many, many feet deep. Other waste will be placed on that. You know, there's really no danger of water getting the asbestos and taking it to the drinking water because it is so deep. And again, it's just more of an airborne risk than anything. And I guess also, just another point, this building has been kind of torn down in shambles for many, many, many years, exposed to the elements. It's been rained on. That runoff, I'm sure, has traveled, you know, I don't know if there's any tributaries right next to it, but my point being is it's been exposed for decades, and it's been rained on, and the state knows about it, so obviously it's not a hazard as far as rainwater is concerned. But for whatever reason, I guess they're going to develop that area, so the government got involved and they said, let's get this cleaned up. So they hired a team to come in and demo what was still standing, get the ground cleaned up, so, and it winds up here. This is where to live the rest of his life. And it looks like Rolando's also stocked him some cover dirt down here, so he can push that as an intermediate cover before we bring in a lot of dirt and do our final cover of the day. But that'll just be kind of an intermediate type cover. Pretty neat little operation, man. I tell you what, he's got it made down here. There's just our company, Upstream Recycling, that's doing the hauling. So he's only getting probably a truck every hour and a half. And up at the other part of the landfill is where it's crazy busy all the time. This is kind of nice down here and relaxing. Might see if I can trade jobs with him for a couple weeks. Now I see what he's doing, where he's getting his intermediate cover from. He's got this thing figured out. He's just taking the Volvo and go ahead and cutting. You can see that grade stake there. Looks like 17 feet he's got to cut from right here. So he's taking this material, throwing it over yonder on top of the asbestos, and that's how he's getting his cover. And we get to cut the amount of dirt that we need to cut, so it works out beautiful. All right, y'all, I got to get up to the office and do a bunch of stuff. Appreciate y'all hanging out, riding around with me. I'll see you on the next video.